Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Documentary Club. I'm Jeff Jones, and with me, as usual, is Jack. How are you doing today, Jack? How's it going?
Doing just Jim Dandy. Welcome everyone out there that's listening in to our review of Sour Grapes.
Story about wine foraging. You can see this on, I think, for free on YouTube, or did you? Where else did you say it was? On Amazon.
Prime, yep.
This guy that we can see here on the screen, his name is Rudy. And what were your first impressions of a guy like Rudy?
He has this ability, pretty much of any wine that he drinks, he can remember what it tastes like, especially ones that are a bit unique, the really good ones. I certainly don't think he was in this alone at all. I just don't.
Number one, this is not something that you could pull off on your own. And number two,
No.
Just financially, we know that he was sending the money back
A lot of money
to China, or to where is he from? Indonesia. So he was sending a lot of money back overseas and not using that money. So that would show you that maybe he's not even the one backing this. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he's just the front man.
1 year he sent $17 million back.
He's not the one ultimately, unless they have some like sharing the profit scheme the brothers do. He's not really benefiting as much as other people are. Is he the front man? Is he kind of acting? Is he, he's the one that had the palate. He really knew his wines. Whereas maybe his brother didn't have that talent,
It really kind of starts telling the tale of how this kind of really began.
Want to own a fine and rare wine collection, the time to buy is right now.
I could taste the Chardonnay in the palate.
Who inspected these bottles? Did you have any reason to suspect that the wine was counterfeit?
Very cool.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if most wine drinkers even would consider that there's that much fraudulent wine out there. It wouldn't be something that would cross my mind right away,
Oh, no.
Wine is an interesting thing in that it's alive. It changes as it ages.
Yep.
Sometimes it gets better. Sometimes it gets worse. And, someone who's a really wine connoisseur, they're like, it's alive and you drink it. It becomes part of you. And that whole process, the whole process from grape to finishing off in the person, is this interesting dynamic. And it's an interesting way to look at this consumable art, right?
It's not a sandbox that I can play in because I don't have that kind of money to spend on a bottle of wine.
It's not a tool, it's not a table or a plate or a car, it's alive.
Avec le temps, les branches ont poussé, puis ça fait un peu des statues.
I am Laurent Ponceau, winemaker, vigneron in Burgundy.
You feel here what I call the spirit of the vines. Can say I have some blood in my wine, not some wine in my blood. The spirit of Burgundy wines is unique. Not only a wine, but a culture and history.
We're not just presenting the wine in the bottle, but it's everything. It's the culture, our region. We put it all on the line there.
And that says something, they kept it in the family and passed it on to the next generation. And that's something that I can certainly, even not a wide drinker, I certainly appreciate that.
So, and then at the 5-minute mark, we have this guy, Jay McLerney.
Yeah, this is another part of where this really also gets started, with our main character, Rudy, because, he's going to go into it, but Rudy kind of makes his entrance, into this wine world of buying these various wines, and I guess kind of creating a hoard, and it begins to drive the price. That's why they were talking about wine as an investment. So,
scene really started in the 90s in the .com boom. They developed this culture of very wealthy collectors gathering at these auctions.
5,005 last call at 5,500, 987.
I started to get these emails very wealthy collectors were drinking like 1945 Romane Conti and 1955 Petrus.
Can you believe that, Jack? 1955 Petrus?
It'll be
It's all
talking.
Greek to me at this
He's
point.
talking. Yeah, it's alien language for me, man. All these different, types of wines. I mean, Burgundies and
Sometimes I think about it like this. If you go
Chardonnay
into, we've talked about golf before. If you go
Right.
in and you talk to the golf fitting guy and he goes, "Oh yeah, I got clubs for you." And he's like, "Hey, we could try the T12s, the T30s, or you know what? This might even be better for you, these 40s. Okay, I'll put you in
Right.
the 40s. And you know what? I have a bunch of shafts. I probably have 100 different shafts. You know what shaft would be really good for you?" And they have it all memorized. And when they're not earning money, they're drinking wine and
Yep.
talking about wine.
That's right.
Sounds like a fun life. I'm not gonna lie.
Talking about these guys are getting these big bonuses, $3-4 million bucks, whatever, and they decide, you know what, I'm gonna go blow $1 million on wine and having a great dinner with my friends. So it's
Yeah.
like basically F you money.
Yeah, because if you got $14 million, what's
$1 million.
What's having 13 million now the next day and being like, look at, I blew $1 million and had the best time of my life. YOLO.
200 grand worth of wine in a night. It was pretty extraordinary.
Well, I got a $3 million bonus. I'm going to take $1 million of that and blow it. And that's their you money. It's a kind of money that most human beings never experience.
For you, that's the equivalent of somebody gave you, you won $200 on a scratch off or something. And
Right.
you're like, okay, I won $200 in a scratch off. I can keep 100 and I can blow 100. Just
Right.
whatever. Buy whatever you want, kids. I don't
Yep.
care. It's FU money, right? And I think that's the equivalent to the $3 million bonus, right? Like that level of money. Especially when
right.
it's a bonus and it's not, you're like not planning on it. Like you're
That's right. It's extra.
like, it's not part of my budget. Yeah. So for us, it's a huge amount of money. For them, it was not a lot of money. And does that play into it a little bit, Jack? Like, well, yeah, they spent a lot of money on wine, but everybody was spending a lot of money on wine. So it's like it's a little bit of like, I have to be so super serious at work and I'm doing all this, big deals and then I get to be a little more whimsical with my money when it comes to wine. Oh, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy that. Oh, that sounds good. So you have a little bit of reckless abandon built into the culture of buying wine and in this. So are you a little more likely to let some fake stuff slip through the cracks? Because it's not a business for you. It's pleasure,
That's right. I mean, I think there's that potential. Yep, there's definitely that potential for that to slip through the cracks.
All right, 11:55. We're going to look at the palette of wine and how to explain and talk about wine a little bit.
To your brain, and then you look through your Rolodex in your mind of all these different wines you've tasted.
I think a wine palate is very similar to athletic ability. I totally get that peppery citrus that you're talking about.
Tony! What's up, Tony?
Can I just make one small point about wine tasting in general, the culture of wine tasting that is seen as a very highfalutin, high society kind of activity. Think about all the effort that goes into making these bottles of wine, and people are blushing over this wine. It's the best thing. Oh my God. And how much of it gets literally just spit into a thing and dumped out because they just want to taste it. They don't want to
going into the spittoon. That's right.
I understand, like, people, you can't taste tons of wine all day. You'll get hammered. I just think about the ratio of how much wine is wasted just because people don't swallow it. They just, they literally just taste it and spit it out. And I find it a strange practice, even though it's very normalized and it's highfalutin. And it is funny. A bunch of rich people spitting.
It is.
It's kind of a funny, goofy little thing.
It is, but it's a real thing. Again, this goes into an arena that most of us can't afford to get into. Yeah, so that really comes to the next one, 1438, where this reporter, Corey Brown, she's now Rudy's kind of made a name for himself at this point, and she's trying to get an interview with Rudy.
He never said something to me that I could look at and find was untrue. I was a reporter and I was curious about the auction market. I noticed a very, very young man surrounded by people that I knew were movie producers, clearly the focus of everyone's attention. Who is this guy? And why is he spending this kind of money? And what does he want to do with his wine? It took months to get him to sit down and have a cup of coffee with me.
I gotta go in 5 minutes. I have a big burgundy tasting.
It was like another month or two before I got him to sit down and actually have an interview with me.
Oh my God, this is it's corked.
No.
Maybe it's obvious what that joke was. I don't know if you.
I don't get it.
Could understand that.
I
So if
didn't.
it's corked, it means that the integrity of the cork has been compromised, and it would mean the whole bottle of wine is ruined, is what he's saying.
Man.
And he does it a couple times in this documentary where he goes, oh, "It's corked."
Gotcha.
And then they go, "Oh my God, gasp, clutch my pearls." And then he goes, just messing with you
This
guys.
fooling psycho. Psych.
Just messing with you guys.
That's funny.
So that's what he means by being corked, that it's just ruined. And
Never heard of
it
that.
has an unpleasant smell and taste, often described as musty cardboard, wet dog, and moldy basement. The wine also tastes a bit flat or dull. So yeah, in that clip, he refuses to talk about his family, and that's what she was really trying to pull in on, right? She was really trying to focus in on what's this background, what's this guy all about.
The people around him would say that his family owned the Heineken distributorship for all of China, and he was on $1 million a month allowance for his wine. He said, "I don't talk about my family." The auction houses were giddy. No one had ever spent that much money that fast. It was ruining the quiet little club that the old guys had.
We are just 11 meters below the ground level here, and we are really the 2 feet in the history of Burgundy.
Wow, that's really neat. I like this part a lot. I like this history part.
I love it.
To just see how this is where the water is coming from and the nutrients, and it's like you're going into the bedrock here, and you're in a cave in Burgundy, France. This is a really cool part of this documentary.
The vine is sucking, so to say, the rock. We are only a tiny element of the chain.
And Burgundy is the ultimate example of this. It's a wine for obsessives.
Dude, I just opened that bottle on Thursday.
Can I refill and put the cork back?
Uh-oh.
Whoa. Back up. What?
Can I refill it and put the cork back in? Well, yeah, you could.
Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not exactly, because he fabricated wines, and we're going to find out here in a minute. He fabricated labels of things that didn't actually exist.
He did.
That's where he made some mistakes, where he was doing vintages of wines that never happened.
Never existed.
And if he would have done his research a little bit closer and not had those tiny little mistakes, like, this wine cellar didn't do a red wine in 64. It didn't exist. They did one in 66, but they didn't do it in 64. So had he done that correctly, he may have gotten away with it.
Possibly.
Because if you're like, well, it's a legit year. Okay, the label doesn't look right. I don't know. I guess you could still figure out that it was fabricated. But anyway, the next clip really leads into talking about him with the reporter, and then it leads into talking about Bill Koch. Bill Koch is the philanthropist and financier and backer. A lot of money in media. They also have a lot of donations They donate to PBS. They're big family. And so Bill Koch, one of these Koch brothers, they're known as, kind of gets ripped off, and he's well known enough, and his financing are well known enough that he becomes, somewhat of a character in this.
I've been a little obsessive about buying wine in the past. I have in total 43,000 bottles.
My God. That's a lot of wine. How much wine can one family drink?
So, like, I guess my underlying question about all this extreme collecting is the only difference between this and hoarding is because it's organized?
Basically, yeah.
Because you're wealthy enough to have room to keep all the stuff, and then you're
Well,
organizing it.
Well,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
and you're not
extreme-
spending. He's not spending every last dollar. You can't
That's
live.
true. That's true. Okay.
I mean, that's another, but it's still hoarding. It's still hoarding. I don't care how much lipstick.
What
we
are you
put on.
filling? What hole are you filling? Is my question.
Yeah, right. It's that emotional connection, as he said in the beginning. You got to have some emotional connection to that. I get it.
If you look at those labels right there, do you see that they're all the same? Every one
Yep.
of those bottles of wine that you can see
Yep.
right now
Yep.
are actually the same. It's the same, at least the same label, venue.
Venter. Yep.
Yeah. That's how much he has. That he has multiples of everything in different qualities. Like I have one in 10 quality, I have one in 1 quality. Like, wow. He's got it all. All right.
With superfine wines, you could taste the love the vintner had in making it. Here's one bottle of Jefferson wine, 1787 Lafitte THJ. The mere fact that Thomas Jefferson owned it and held it in his hand, etc., that's part of history.
I'll give it to you. That's pretty cool to own some Thomas Jefferson wine.
It is. It is. It's cool as shit. And I can understand that connection. I get it.
The faker didn't know his wine history very well because the Rothschilds didn't own Lafitte in 1737. Unfortunately, I paid $100,000 per bottle.
Yeah. Chump change to him, but for me or you, that's life wrecking. Life wrecking.
I couldn't you think about it that way. Could you dig yourself out of a $500,000 hole, Jack, for the rest of your life?
Well, if I was 20 years old, yeah, probably.
If you were 20, yeah. I guess
but
you
now,
could. But just
now,
think about that. That's how much money it is. How long would it take you to dig yourself out of a? If you owed like 500,000 in gambling debts, you had to figure out it's just so much money, bro. It's just absurd. The wealth is absurd.
It is.
These people think they're King Coke. Sit down. Sit down, Bill. Take a seat. But I like how the bottles look. The bottles are really cool looking.
So especially like that last one he showed.
Yeah. Faked them good.
He and John Capon were meticulously going through all of his wines to catalog everything and sell some off. Acromero wasn't a big house, and then Rudy really made them.
It was like a giant crazy party with an auction. Rudy came along with this incredible cellar, and they kind of helped each other.
In 3 years, they had $35 million of wine that they sold for Rudy.
Yep.
Not all of that is fake.
Oh, no, not at all. It's still a lot of wine.
Still a lot of wine. A lot of money.
When Rudy sold $35 million worth of wine through Acromero Condit, Acromero became the #1 auction house in the world.
One client makes
One
you
client.
the biggest.
That's right. Massive turnaround.
Not much that can be said about this collection outside of the fact it is one of America's greatest. To see all the magnificent wines in there, I said, man, I felt like maybe I ought to buy the whole bloody cellar.
And, I don't know how John could have inspected every single bottle when he's selling $30 million worth of wine.
The fakers like to fake the very hard to find, very old wines. One night, my bulldog investigator found that I had just paid $25,000 for one 1921 Magnum Petrus. In 1921, Petrus made no Magnums.
Bill kept saying to me, I want to know how deep this problem is in my cellar.
You know, on an 1858 bottle, we found Elmer's glue. And Elmer's glue didn't come in till sometime in the 70s.
You know, I think about what other people do in his position. They're like, who gives a shit? Just drink it.
Just drink it. Yeah. Did you like it? Did it taste good? Then don't worry about it.
That kind of sets up the story, because this is where the trail starts, where Coke goes, dude, where are these bottles coming from?
Yep.
3642 mark at the auction, they withdraw his wines from auction.
Yeah, this guy withdraws his lot. He does.
Because they're Rudy wines, right?
Yep.
They were all really, really buzzed and really expensive wine.
Suddenly, Ponceau stood up. He said, "Withdraw my wines," and John and everything. John was at the podium. It was a bizarre moment.
At the end of the auction, I met Capon, and I was asking who are the owners of these wines. The next day, I met Rudy Kernawen for the first time. You have to tell me where the wines are coming from. You bought these wines, you should know. Oh, you know, we buy so many wines that I don't know where they come from. I have to check.
You don't know where your wines come from.
I'll have to check.
You know every detail about everything, but you don't know this one of these most important details.
No.
And then he does check. And then Rudy supplies him with 2 phone numbers. And then the guy calls the phone numbers the next day, and one of them's a fax number, and the other one goes to
unanswered.
Unanswered, right.
This is the 2003 U.S. Department of Justice removal proceedings for Rudy.
So Rudy was here illegally.
Yeah, his student visa, I guess, had expired, and they were looking for his ass to get him out of the country.
I think I remember that later in the documentary where they were like, "Hey, Rudy, let's travel. Let's go here. Let's go to France. Like, let's go on a trip to," and he never wanted to leave the U.S.
Right.
And that's because he knew when he left, they would never let him back in. Because once you overstay your visa, we don't look too kindly on that. One of those phone numbers does go back to this restaurant in Jakarta. And
that guy, his investigators were able to run it down to this restaurant.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know if we need to show that clip. I mean, it's pretty easy. You can basically the phone number goes there. The FBI agent talks a little bit about the case, and then Rudy's being deposed. Rudy has a deposition, and Rudy owes everybody money.
This deposition is the one that Koch's investigator lawyer did with Rudy.
So raise your hand, sir, please. Just tell me what to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth. I hope you got it.
Okay. Have you been deposed before? No. So it's important that you speak audibly.
We basically drank a lot of these bottles with a lot of different people.
We tried to press Rudy for the source of his wine.
I agreed to take them back, which is the right thing to do.
He wasn't defensive, never definitive, nothing concrete.
This is another fake one. In 2009, Christie's sold wine for Rudy in a series of auctions. The auction houses had gone from having high reputations to tens of millions of dollars worth of counterfeit wines.
I know, man. It's crazy.
And coming off the heels of 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the forgeries in art and how so much of the art is fake, and now how much of the wine is fake and fake.
We talked about in the beginning, any venture that somebody can get into that they think they can make money from, they're going to try it, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars. I mean, it's lucrative.
So the next clip, I don't know if you could guess what's going to happen to Rudy, but Rudy's luck does run out.
The plan was to approach the house, set up a perimeter, knock and announce, and place him under arrest. And then the door opened, and it was Rudy. and he looked like he had just gotten out of bed. The first thing you saw was wine everywhere in the living room.
Do you see this label right here?
Yep. That's exactly what was in Coke's.
That was
wine
what was
cellar.
in Coke's house.
That's right.
It's same
vintner.
Yeah. Okay. Good eye, Jeff.
What it is.
The first thing you saw was wine everywhere in the living room and a huge wine refrigerator. I was stunned.
Why would you be stunned?
It's like he's saying he's stunned at this wine refrigerator. I'm not stunned about that, but
right.
maybe having wine in a living room, the
Everywhere.
kitchen, this
Just
kind of
everywhere.
yeah. I'd be a little put back too.
But this guy lives and breathes wine, so a little bit I'm not really surprised.
Not shocked, but maybe
Yeah.
we're not seeing the volume of what he saw.
Yeah. Well, it's not the normal FBI case. Like no one's house looks like this except
no.
the wine forger. Okay.
I mean, I could have been knocked over with a feather when I saw what was in the kitchen.
Take it easy. Just calm down. Like calm down.
Settle down, man.
Settle
I mean, I could
down,
have been knocked over with a feather when I saw what was in the kitchen.
So that's what was in the kitchen because these are probably evidence. I'm sorry, but I just drank wine and I probably had that many bottles on my table before. Me and my buddies have a party. Like that doesn't look that crazy to me. I don't know. This FBI guy's just playing it up. That's my angle. He's playing it up.
In the kitchen sink, there were 2 or 3 bottles soaking. There was a cork extraction device. There was a recorking device. And there were notations. Change the year, the vintage, change the size, remove a serial number.
Yeah, ruh-roh.
Yeah, that's the problem there.
They found more. I mean, there's like he's got this really snazzy laser whatever printer, really nice one. Got paper that's year correct for as much of it as he could.
Right.
These different papers from around the world, basically, that he's sourcing this paper for the labels. Now, of course, using Elmer's glue was probably not a great idea. Anyway.
He did not get bail, and the federal prosecutor, Jason Hernandez, who was also the FBI agent or prosecutor in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, we see a crossover of the FBI agent in the same one. So let's check that out at 103:45.
If you believe that Rudy Kurniawan was just trying to recondition the bottle, then you probably believe that a man with a white beard is going to come down your chimney and leave a case of 1945 Romani Conti under you.
I just think it's so funny that we've been watching so many documentaries now that we're getting we know the FBI agents. We know all of them from.
Well, and
I'm like, oh, I saw this guy. He was working the other case.
He's a little snarky. He's trying to be funny, a little snarky in his comment there. If you believe this.
But yeah, I mean, he is putting the screws to it a little tight there, but absolutely.
I sensed right away that there was going to be an actual charge that could be made. He had been purchasing things like extremely large quantities, thousands of dollars of wax. He was ordering paper that was known for its antique properties that can be used to make labels. He was collecting dozens and dozens of empty bottles from restaurants.
I always keep my empty bottles. You know that.
I would like you to put a cork on all the bottles so sediments won't flow all over. Don't wash them, as I need them to look originals for photo shoot. Use some corks you have in the restaurant. He wants the sediment. You know what I mean? And if anything, if he can get a taste of it, you know what I mean?
That's right.
If he can get a flavor, then he's got a flavor profile of it. But yeah, he's hustling for these bottles, hardcore.
Yep.
He was scanning labels into his computer, and then he was printing them on a huge printer that was in the house.
After having scanned through and cataloged all the evidence, what I can say is this is definitely Rudy's because here's the template that made it.
They got you, man. They got you over the wine barrel.
Yep, got your computer, got all your labels and your formulas and your
Oh,
wax,
Rudy,
your
say it ain't
paper.
so, bro.
Well, it's another part we really haven't talked about too much, but it was mentioned by this reporter in the beginning that Rudy was surrounded by these, more wealthy directors and so forth, people from Hollywood and these other people.
Right.
And these people actually appear in the documentary, and they're just floored. They can't believe he's doing it,
Right.
because just the way he is around them, they're so shocked.
I guess that's why it's a good con, because you don't see it coming.
Right.
If you saw it coming, then he wouldn't be able to con you.
I don't know how much you want to play of this. This goes into more of his family history and these connections that I don't remember if it's the FBI. I think it was the FBI that maybe made these connections about his two uncles that had robbed some banks over in Asia and walked away with a lot of money.
All right, let's check this out.
And we knew that his father's name was Macmoor Wajojo. And then we knew he had a brother Dar, and he had a brother Teddy.
In 2007, he wired $17 million. So this is what I'm saying, to his brothers. It's not just him. This is not Rudy's. This is not Rudy's plan alone. He's just the front man.
I agree. There's just no way he could have done this alone. There's no way.
Right.
Who created him?
Well, you should introduce the man.
I don't know if anybody created him. I think he was the guy who had the wine palette. He's the guy that could pull it off.
Well, I think he's. I mean, to me, I took it as alluding to who put down the stake.
Yeah, I get that
money.
part.
The stake money, basically, to allow him to start, buying these larger quantities of wine.
Carter, that there was a link between Lenoir Tan's brothers involved in the largest bank heist in the history of Jakarta.
Jesus, Jiminy Crickets.
Yep.
And these guys are one person removed from Rudy.
That's right. Uncles.
Rudy's uncles.
On Mama's side. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say, like, your family, but, you're accused of this stuff. You've done these frauds. These guys are bank robbers. Maybe there is a family kind of thing going on, and you didn't do this alone. You're sending money to your brothers. Like, it's just a family business, it seems like.
Well, I don't know how much you're going to play of that, but they got away with it. And it was hundreds of millions of dollars, if I'm remembering correctly. So who knows if some of that seed money floated down into the three brothers' hands.
Maybe that's a way to,
yeah.
All right, well, let's check out this clip about the trial. Rudy pleads not guilty.
He turned his home into a wine factory, said prosecutor Joseph Facciaponte of the defendant.
He decided to plead not guilty. There are defendants who basically don't want to accept reality.
Crusade to sniff out the fraudster who was faking his vintage wines ended here at Manhattan's Federal District Court this week.
Fraudster Rudy Kurniawan will also pay $28.4 million.
Yeah, right. Where's he going to get that money from?
Indeed.
He'd have to earn that money first somewhere. You know what I mean? So, do you want to show it, or do you just want to talk about it? The last one, 119.
Basically shows them these law enforcement destroying, what is it, 500 bottles of wine or something like that.
Yeah.
Bunch of counterfeit wine they seized and they destroyed it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you can do. I don't know what you can do with this counterfeit wine, but just destroying it, it almost seems like you should have a party. Like, I want to know what the French would do. Would the French throw this wine out, or were they like, no, we will have the party of the century.
We will have the party. Bring
Everyone can have some free wine. Just sign a waiver that says if you die, you can't sue us. You know what I mean?
Basically.
Yeah. Here's Rudy's stash party. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
how awesome would that be?
Just call it Rudy's Mixers and just have a freaking party.
I just hate to see things wasted. You know what I mean? I
That's
just don't want
that to me. I mean, it reminds me of Prohibition old prohibition movies where they're just turning over vats of beer, and
You don't want to waste that.
Like, what are you doing, man? It's just crazy.
Did get a kick out of I think it's the FBI. This guy, this dude. I did get a kick out of him here. We're always talking about wine, and at the end of the day, he's a working class dude, and he just cracks himself a beer.
Yeah,
I did like that kind of. It was kind
At the
of
end, right. I'm just gonna have my beer. I'm not gonna worry about no wine, kind of thing.
It's like, kind of a fu to the upper class a little bit. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I did like that little part of the documentary. Cool story. Rudy, there's a lot of footage in this, and I urge you to go check this one out. There's a lot of footage of Rudy on video being really smooth and having the answer and talking about wine tasting and being an expert. The trick for him was that he knew about wine, and that he bought up wine cellars at their wine cellar. Like he was competition with Coke's with Bill Koch. And he was Bill Koch's competition, right?
Yes.
So that set him up to, no one's going to question it. No one's going to question your wine. They're going to, I think if he would have just sold a couple bottles here and there and like drank them with people, you know what I mean? I'll sell you that one, and then we'll drink it together and whatever. And then the bottle never really disappears. It never really goes any, I just keep it in house. He probably could have got away with it for a long time. And
don't do anything. Don't get crazy like those Thomas Jefferson wines he sold. Coke. Don't do stuff like that, man.
That's one of the most brazen things you could do. The Thomas Jefferson wine.
200-plus-year-old bottles of wine, and you're going to try to rip somebody like Bill Koch off.
Okay, I'm kind of in on that one. That sounds good.
Well,
it's wrong.
I know.
It's still wrong. It's still wrong.
I'm with you, but it's. And I agree with you. People just kind of kept his head down, maybe done a little bit here, a little bit there. No one would have probably ever caught him.
Yeah, it's always you either flew too close to the sun or too close to the water. Which one was it? I think it was too close to the sun for this one.
Oh yeah,
his wings melted.
No doubt. Absolutely.
The wax, his wax melted. Oh. Cool documentary. I enjoy this one. I for some reason it resonates with me. I like talking about wine. I really used to love drinking wine. I don't really drink that much anymore, but when I did, I was in my wine. Had a good buddy who was really into wine and kind of introduced me to that culture. And I think when you start drinking really expensive wine, and wine that someone who knows what they're doing, like knows what's good and what's not good, you can have a really good experience and not even be an expert in wine. You just be like, someone who knows what they're talking about. Here, drink this. This is a good one. And then go and drink the cheap stuff. And you go, okay, now you know what?
Now I get it.
I get it a little bit. Yeah.
See, I've never had a really expensive bottle of, or even a glass of wine.
Right. I think that's why they have these tastings. You know what I mean? That's why like wine tastings are so popular, because you can just go and they have wine flights. You can have 3 different little taste.
Right.
That's really one of the coolest things about being a wine drinker and living in Southern California or driving in Southern California, is there's just wineries everywhere, and you could just go and sample all day.
Sure. The Napa Valley.
Like
yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
No doubt.
So wrap up thoughts. What are your final thoughts on this one? Sour grapes.
I really enjoyed it. Because it gave us kind of a not a huge amount of history about some, and I really liked that history about Burgundy. That it really opened, because I didn't know. So it really filled in a gap there that I'm not to say that I'm really interested in that kind of thing, but it's still interesting. And I really liked how they showed that, and that Vintner, and his pursuit of like, look, this is fake. Anyway, I appreciate it, and I did enjoy the documentary overall. I did like it.
I don't have the palate. I don't feel like drinking wine. I feel more like drinking coffee. Like, I guess maybe because I live in Hawaii and it got coffee beans here, but I'm like, I'd rather drink some coffee or just wine sometimes. I wish there were more documentaries like this. I don't know why, but I love forgery stuff. I like this. I like the art of the scam. I mean, I'm glad they got caught, but I can appreciate the art of the scam. Like, look at how he ripped his kitchen apart, or how he was living. Like, he had these labels everywhere and soaking wine bottles, and I can't appreciate that.
Scanning labels, big printer.
Because if someone buys your bottle of wine and they love it, then
okay, no harm, no foul, right?
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for us today from Documentary Club. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe to support the channel so we can make more content like this. Join us on the lives. We do a live every Monday, kind of hang out and talk about the week, talk about the video and anything else that's on your mind. So come join us on the lives on Monday evenings. And that's it for us today. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jack.
And we'll see you on the next one.